President Dirks.
Here.
Ms. Fergus.
Here.
Ms. Fitzgibbon.
Here.
Mr. Fry.
Here.
Ms. Ross. Here. Mr. Schubacher.
Here.
Ms. Sword.
Here.
Mr. Pena.
Here.
Ms. Easton. Here. Ms. Judges.
All right, before we get started, I've been asked several times to remind the board members to try to speak closer to the mics so that folks here can hear us, but on TV, they don't. So for those who are watching at home, we need to try to speak up, please. Okay, first up, Spotlight on Learning.
So I'd like to introduce Mel Dow, who is, we're going to talk about or recognize the winter sports teams. And
Thank you, Dr. Onsager. Real quick, we invited all of our winter sports coaches as well as invited some of their athletes with them. Unfortunately, due to their busy schedules and a little bit of downtime that their winter season are just getting done, spending some time with their family. But our steady Eddie, Coach Empey, is here and give him an opportunity to take the podium.
Mel, real quick, for the ones that are not here, could
Yep.
you just kind of go through for the board what those winter sports are, and so
Sure.
and maybe a quick how they did.
Yep. Real quick, we'll go to the hard court first since tonight is the NCAA championship night. Our boys and girls basketball team both won Badger Conference titles again this year. It's kind of nice. Our girls won it for their second consecutive year, and the boys won it for the sixth consecutive year. So a great showing there with our winter sports and basketball. Our boys and girls hockey programs are in rebuilding phases right now. We have a new coach in the girls program, and Matt Gallagher, who is a Stoughton alum and is also a substitute teacher within our district. We saw a great increase in numbers in our girls. We went from 12 skaters last year to 20 skaters this year, and we're hoping to get up to 26 skaters next year. So a rebuilding part of our girls hockey program. They won the Rhinelander tournament for the third consecutive year. And our boys hockey team's claim to fame this year was we stopped the Edgewood streak. Edgewood had a 3-year run in the Badger Conference in hockey, and our boys stopped that streak this year with a nice win as they continue rebuilding that program. Our swim program was back-to-back years returning to the state swim meet with our medley relay team, our free relay team, which was a nice thing there. Coach added to her family as well and had her first right in the middle of the season, so that was a nice little transition that we had. But the staff stepped up and some alumni came in to help as well there. And then our spirit squad continues to show some growth and development as well. Our cheer program represented both wrestling and basketball, and our dance team performed at the regionals. So again, great showing all the way across the board with all those programs. But I'm gonna let Mr. MP have the mic here talking about the wrestling program real quick since he showed up.
Great honor to be able to speak to you guys tonight. The first thing is complimenting my colleagues, our winter coaches, and their time and commitment. You can see that it takes a lot for them to be away from their families, but I get the honor to observe them as an activities director and watch their student athletes grow, not only as athletes but as people. In respect to wrestling, we had, just to describe our program, we had 44 athletes out that finished the season with us. We had 9 managers and 6 cheerleaders that represented Stoughton throughout the season. Our first highlight of our season, we traveled to Pennsylvania, and at Pennsylvania, we were the first out-of-state team to be invited back to their tournament that has been held for 32 years. Just with the people and the parents and our assembly of people that were there, they really enjoyed us being part of their tournament. So much that they came on the bus before we left to invite us back personally as a whole group and our parents. So very humbling experience. Wrestling is really important for the people there in Pennsylvania. So great honor to be asked back. As our season developed and our athletes continue to be student athletes at the same time, our varsity reserve team won a varsity tournament, beating 2 ranked teams prior to our conference tournament. So great compliment to what our coaching staff and our community help support not only in our wrestling room, but in our school environment as well. And then, obviously, the rest of the story is been known through the papers, but for you guys, our 38th conference title, something that we're very proud of to keep that great tradition alive. Coach Spildy and myself and our community are very proud to keep that tradition going. We won the regional and sent all 14 guys to the sectional. We haven't done that since the mid-2000s, so that was a great accomplishment for our team. And then we qualified for the state tournament for the 11th time in the program history and finished as state runner-up with 25 season dually wins. So kind of a great venture for our program, for our team. And we talk a lot about team, so we have a lot of our guys that we can't put on the roster, but they're included in being part of the picture at the very end of the season, whether you're a freshman, first-year guy starting to our last. Tonight, I have with me Tyler Dow. Tyler's our 48th state champion here at Stoughton. Also a great student, a part of Student Senate. With him, we had 5 guys make the state finals. We haven't had that as school history. It's kind of a coach's and a program dream to have that many people qualify for the finals. And we finished with 6 state place winners. So just hasn't been done since the Vern Pieper era, since 1988. So we're very humbled to be part of a great community that supports us, and we're thankful that we get to, as a coach, get to share in some great families at this time. So thanks for your time.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, at this point in the agenda, we would entertain any public comment. If there are any members of the public who would like to address the board, please come forward to the podium, give us your name and address, and try to keep your comments to 3 minutes. But I don't see anyone headed up here, so I will assume there isn't anybody that wants to address us. Next up is the legislative update. Donna.
Thanks, Scott. Just an FYI, there's an election tomorrow. I won't say any more. Today was the first of a series of Joint Finance Committee hearings, public hearings. It was in Platteville, and on Wednesday there's one in West Dallas, and Friday there'll be one in Berlin. I don't think any of us are scheduled to testify, but several of our school board colleagues from other districts were there today. So that was good to hear. One thing that I wanted to mention is while the WASB is very supportive of the governor's proposed budget, they came out with a position that they are not supportive of tying it to Act 10 in the savings with the insurance and 12%. So they stood up against that. I don't know what's going to happen, but we will be keeping our eye on that.
I did just hear on the radio today, the governor said today that point might be negotiable. So
Okay.
we'll see.
One of the things, though, that's going to probably happen while this is all being discussed is there is a split in the Republicans at the Capitol. Some want to go back to what they call base, which essentially means 0 increases. They don't know they don't see how we can sustain the increases that the governor has proposed. So we'll be keeping our eye on that as well. There is also a bill to allow constitutional carry of firearms that could actually impact schools and boards, and that's something I'm sure that we'll keep our eye on, and there is a way around it for school districts and through the no trespassing signs. So we may have to be changing our signage. One of the biggies is there have been 6 individual bills proposed by GOP lawmakers around restricting school district referendums. These are really kind of some scary bills. we were talking a little bit about it in policy tonight. I don't know, Tim, if you want to talk a little bit more about those.
There's, and I don't know the details of all 6, but 2 that pop to mind is one talks about recurring referendums and says that districts would no longer be allowed to pass a recurring referendum. At most, they could pass a 5-year referendum. But then it goes on further to say that districts who have passed a recurring referendum, like we did in 2014, would have to go back to the voters after 5 years from the date it passed to get permission to keep that levy for the next 5 years, and every 5 years go back. So with us, it would mean that in the spring of 2019, we would be going back to our voters, if this goes through, asking for over $7 million, and if it didn't pass, we would be facing quite a bit of a deficit. The other one that comes to mind, again, I don't know the other 4 that much in detail, but the other one said that, the other proposal is, if a district passes a referendum, they would reduce their state aid by 20%, saying that if the voters of the district say that they have enough money to exceed the revenue limit, then they must have extra money and they don't need the state aid, and they would give the state aid to districts who did not pass a referendum. So that would be putting more reliance on our local taxpayer for that. We would, if that passed and we would go that route, we would get 20% less in state aid.
Yeah, the other bills center around dates and when you can actually go to referendum. But mostly they penalize districts just like ours who were very thrifty in the 90s when revenue caps were put in place. So apparently they like local control when it suits them, but then they don't like it when it does not. So we're probably going to have to act on this. I would say either we're probably going to be passing some resolutions or sending letters. We could probably get to the point where we should probably have a legislator visit. Although the only legislators that cover our district that probably would come are all sympathetic to our plight, and so it doesn't really help a lot, but just letting them know that we support them and that they will contact us. They've already done that now on a couple things that they've read in the budget, so I'm glad for that. And I spoke with several of them at the day at the Capitol they were all very supportive of the budget with the 200 1 year and the or was it 250 1 year and 200? It's $600 over the 2 years. So that's a really that would be great if it happens, but we shall see. Anyway, I just wanted to keep you all posted on that. I mean, it may, and you're all free to write letters on your own and urge all legislators to not pass laws that are going to hurt us, but we kind of are waiting to see what the JFC comes out with after all of these hearings. So that's all I've got for that.
Question, Donna.
Mm-hmm.
I know that in the last time these came up with regard to the proposals to limit how often you can vote for referendum, their rationale was, my constituents feel like they're just constantly being bombarded by these, et cetera. What is the rationale that's being put forward to essentially penalize districts that successfully pass referenda? Or haven't they?
Well, I think they're just trying. There's Representative Strobel has got his name on at least 3 of these. I think it could be more. He's just got a bone to pick with about referendums in general. I haven't really delved into it to see what their rationale is. There was a pretty good article in the Sentinel, I believe, and I'm happy to forward that to you all so you can read it, that talked about it more in depth. But
yeah, if you could, that would be good.
It's sort of hard to understand because especially the Marquette poll that just came out that 80% of the state of Wisconsin believes that public education should get more funding.
Well, I know, and that's why I'm wondering what their stated rationale at least is.
I don't think there is any rationality right now in the government. I'm sorry.
Okay. Well, keep us posted,
I
please.
will.
I have a question. Are we gonna, you said that we can write letters on our own. Are we gonna pass one that is the whole?
I'm sure we will. I think what we have to do is, before we do something like that, we should wait to see what the final JFC actually proposes, because there's just still a lot of divide right now over what's going to happen. But as it gets down to what we actually know, then we'll definitely be doing something. And I'm sure WSB will be spearheading that and asking boards to take action.
Yeah, I think the thing to keep in mind with this is that the last time this was proposed, it didn't get very far. And the same party controls the legislature now that did the last time, so fingers crossed.
And it's interesting because while the governor is proposing increases, the assembly speaker is not.
Right.
And is actually quite opposed to it. And he's the one that actually was talking about going back to base, which means actually no increase at all. And there's just going to always be the contention between education, transportation, and Medicaid. It's always the same three things. But it sounds like that there is some room for negotiation, and so maybe we'll find out something in the middle. I think we've been budgeting all along for a $0 increase, which is great. It's not great, but at least we feel like we can.
We're prepared for it.
We are prepared, yeah.
Okay, district administrator report.
Real quick, just have some dates for everybody. This Thursday, April 6th, is the reality maze that you heard about at the last board meeting for the 9th graders. This Saturday, April 8th, is our strategic planning event at the high school. April 29th is the band variety show. If you haven't had a chance to see one of those, it's really worth the endeavor. May 6th is prom at the high school. May 15th is an orchestra concert that you may want to check out if you're available. May 17th, which is a Wednesday, is the Senior Honors Scholarship Night. Great opportunity to recognize our graduating seniors, and it's a time the community comes out and is very generous to our seniors. May 24th is the Athletic Awards Night, where we honor our athletes and give out our senior athletic awards, etc. And then the big day, June 4th, is graduation.
There is the FFA banquet in there too. I believe that's in April.
Okay.
And usually the board gets invitations to that.
So, board members, it's really important for you to block off honors night and graduation. It's an opportunity for us to congratulate our seniors and to thank the community and our staff for everything that's gotten the kids to the point of leaving, which is what this is all about, is getting them educated and ready to go. One other thing this weekend, the high school is doing The Lost Boy for their spring play, Thursday, Friday, Saturday at 7 o'clock. If you haven't had a chance to go to a high school play this year yet, this should be a really good one. They always are. So, okay, Bev, consent agenda.
Thank you, Scott. This evening, I move approval of the March 20th, 2017 regular meeting minutes. I move approval of the check register report as presented. And this evening, we would like to say thank you to the following individuals and groups and move approval of their donations to the district. $4,000 from Stoughton Sports Boosters for 4 $1,000 scholarships, $650 from Kaganza Working for Kids for the 2017-18 Opera for the Young performance, $400 from Culver's for River Bluff student trip to Washington, D.C. cost assistance, $50 from Partners of Stoughton Hospital for art club activities, a madrigal dress from Linda King valued at approximately $85, and related donation budget adjustments for $5,100. This evening, I also move approval of professional educator resignation of Kim Nielsen, first grade teacher, Kegonsa Elementary School, effective March 24th, 2017. And I also move approval of a high school girls hockey co-op agreement for 2017-18 and 2018-19 school years with Evansville, McFarland, Monona Grove, Oregon, Deerfield, and Stoughton.
All right, the consent agenda has been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Donna, any discussion? All in favor of accepting the consent agenda, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that passes then. And my computer just freaked out on me. Give me a second here. Come on. Okay. So we don't have any committee reports, I don't believe. Okay, so under discussion items, innovation grant presentations. Tim, do you want to start that off?
This is our third year, I believe, of innovation grants, where we invest in our staff and the great ideas that our staff have. You heard about one on your tour today. So I hope you don't mind that we've kind of excused those folks because they've been here since 6:15 and you got the extended version. But we have some other folks here that are doing some fabulous things with some really great ideas. And so I'll turn it over to Judy, who will kind of introduce this section.
And I'm mostly speaking with apologies, because typically when these people present to the full faculty on the Martin Luther King Jr. In-service day, then they also come that night. You may recall that they were scheduled to come that night, and I just plain forgot to tell them. So I'm very grateful to them for both doing it on the stage on that day and then coming back here again tonight. So we'll really pretty much just go through the list that's on the board. When we get to group number 4, you had the benefit of not just like seeing some of their work, but actually being in their room while they did that. So these would be our 2016 Innovation Grant awardees. And so kindergarten at Kegonsa gets to come first. And guys, as you come up, if you'd introduce yourselves. And who you are.
Good evening. Thank you for having us come. I'm Julie Alexander.
Angel Schrader.
And Joy Meyer. Yes.
Go ahead. Thanks. Maybe. Yeah. Some see a weed and some see a wish. This is our journey towards our play-based, inquiry-based kindergarten this year. You can discover more about a person in an hour of play than in a year of conversation. Play is our brain's favorite way of learning. Children learn as they play. More importantly, in play, children learn how to learn. Play is the highest form of research. There was a study that was done not too long ago comparing 50 play-based classes with 50 early learning centers, and they found that by the age of 10, the children who had played excelled over the others in a host of ways. They were more advanced in reading and mathematics, and they were better adjusted socially and emotionally in school. They excelled in creativity and intelligence, oral expression, and industry. This is something that we wanted to give our students. So this year, Kegonsa Kindergarten did plan and implemented our play-based, inquiry-based kindergarten. This is a sample of our schedule. We kept our core academics are basically in the morning time frames. And then in the afternoon, you will see that we have outdoor classroom, which is 3 days a week for each of our classes. And then we have counseling and library in there. Then in the afternoon, we have a structured Wonder Center time, which is very skills-based, where we can get our standards interweaved into our play. And then at the very end of the day, we have an unstructured Wonder Center time where the students can choose which areas they'd like to spend their time in based on what their interests are.
He's a proud hotel owner. We also looked at the environment as the third teacher. So this is one of our classrooms. This is room 12 before. And this is after. So each room was designed to take into consideration the interests of our students. In this room, they enjoy acting out stories with our story baskets, painting on the easels, listening to stories, and other creative arts. This is before in room 11. And this is after. This is our dramatic play area, blocks, Lego table, light table, and other manipulatives. And then finally, this is room 10, which is considered our science room before and then after. This has where they can observe the different animals, the hermit crabs, gecko, fish, worms, and our late hamster. The discovery tables, light table, greenhouses, and sensory table also provide the students with many opportunities to question and explore science concepts. Here's our outdoor class. This is part of our outdoor classroom. Here they are reenacting The Snowy Day by Ezra Jack Keats. They're building animal homes and habitats around the trees outside. This is nature weaving. And then here they were examining snow. We have a little clip. If you can click on that for me, or thank you.
What do you like about Wonder Centers?
Playing.
And what do you learn when you're in Wonder Center?
That we nice to friends. We had a bag of leaves, and we had a magic tree lead to the tree that they came from.
Was it easy or hard?
Hard.
What was so hard about it?
That
Baking stuff.
my favorite thing about outdoor class now is that we get to learn about animals, birds, and other things.
What other things have we learned about besides the animals?
We learned about trees. That sometimes we get to play because we can learn new stuff and we can do some fun
Right.
My favorite part about outdoor classroom because they teach us stuff and we get to learn about it and we like nature.
Thank you. Presently, 80% of our students are on track to reach our year-end benchmarks. However, all of our students are showing significant progress. These results are similar to what we've seen in the past. In addition to that, we have seen a decrease in our behavior referrals that we have tracked in our school. And beyond just that tracking, it's that observation of our kids are problem solving on their own. They are showing empathy to each other, and even using that word. We showed empathy by doing whatever. And there's a lot more of that cooperation and personal interaction going on between the kids than we've seen in the past through our play-based. We sent a survey to our parents, and their reactions to the play-based and inquiry-based kindergarten have been very favorable. These are just a few of the comments from our parents. I love the interactive play the kids get, so important at this age group. It is kindergarten and children should play. She is a hard worker and she has developed many more social skills. She loves moving rooms and the variety. We couldn't have asked for a better step into school. We found this quote from Amanda Morgan to be true. One intentional, high-quality play experience can yield growth in multiple developmental domains. If you'd like to see more about our program, we have developed a closed Facebook page for our parents that really tells a great story of the progress. So you just have to search Kegonsa Kindergarten, and then we'll approve you to be a part of that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Further questions from any of the board members?
It was really great to see your classrooms in person when we toured
Yeah.
Kegonsa, so it really is helpful to now have you present about that.
Thank you.
I just had one real quick question. At least when I went to school, you stayed in the same room all day long for kindergarten, and this is obviously different. Do you find there are any difficulties with having the kids doing those transitions, or does it actually help because they get up and move around?
It's helped a great deal with them getting up and moving, and because they are able to choose which direction they want to go and what area they're most interested in. We found that we probably know the kids more so this year than what we've known in the past.
Because we know
So it's helped
all
them as well.
3
Kindergarten.
classrooms. And then it also helps them when they are all together, like 2 of the rooms are together for Fayed, they're all out for recess, they're all at lunch together. So they have made friends cross classrooms more so than in the past. And then that alleviates a lot of those issues on the playground.
So they're not as isolated.
Right.
Yeah.
Or
Okay.
even switching to grades, then they'll be familiar with everybody next year.
Okay.
You ever get days where they all want to pile into one area?
It's kind of regulated.
We strategically did that. In the mornings, they get to pick their unstructured time, and they put a clip with their name on it. And we kind of said, we discussed that, what if all 50 plus kids want to go to the same room? So we kind of have it so there's about anywhere from, 6 to 9 is like our max from each classroom within so they know like, okay, this one's full, so today I have to pick a different one. But then within that, they can say, I'd like to move rooms during this time, and they can take their clip and go see if there's now room in that, so that they can flow kind of freely through that.
Other questions? Oh, Nikki.
Yeah, when you presented this at the Professional Development Day, or just in your conversations with your colleagues, has there been any interest in expanding this into the other buildings by the other kindergarten preschool teachers?
A little bit from other teachers, a lot out in the community when they found out that we're doing this. A lot of the parents have asked, well, is it going to occur at the other schools? And at the time, it's like, well, let's get through this year and see how it goes. But it's been very favorable.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Angie Gagliano, and I'm the speech and language therapist at Kegonsa Elementary. And our grant, because I collaborated with the 4th grade teachers and also the 3rd grade teachers, this was a group effort, I'm just representing today, is we chose to use the Lego Story Starter Kit to really work on improving oral and written language for every single student in the classroom. As you can kind of see in the picture, the Story Starter Kit
is a box of blocks, but it has them all organized into different sections: character, setting, and then it has different details that can go along with their stories. And I'll talk more about how we use that to work on speech and on writing. So our main goals were to enhance the students' writing, to really strengthen the oral language. So not only one-on-one or conferencing, but really doing some oral presentations in front of the classroom, improving their overall comprehension with reading, and to really promote collaboration with the students in teams. So it all kind of started a while ago. In fact, I think about 2 years ago, I had one kit that I purchased to work with students in small groups to really work on oral language. And it was very successful with these students. They were engaged. And the groups of students that I work with can range from a lot of diversity and a lot of different abilities. So seeing how these kids could interact with these materials and really show some growth in their oral language was pretty inspiring. So I collaborated with the 4th grade teachers. We tried to figure out a way to do this with entire classrooms. So we did some really good rummage sale finds and some good eBay bids and so forth, and brought it all together on the Lego cart. And then I would go to the classrooms, wheeling my little cart to each classroom, and we got very creative, really portioning out the different Legos and having the kids work on those. I mean, it was pretty amazing what the kids were able to do. We had very typically developing students. We had students with autism, students with some significant language disabilities, who were all able to use these tools to really improve their writing, to be engaged, and also to improve their ability to speak. So then the grant was actually to purchase individual kits for the classrooms so that we could really have the kids work in smaller groups, being able to share different kits. So we have 32 individual Story Starter classroom kits, and each kit is shared by 2 or 3 students in a group. So a typical lesson would be me team teaching with 4th grade teachers primarily, although I did some work also with the 3rd grade teachers. And either we would first do a Lego build on a certain topic, we'd talk about it and then write about it, or the students would have written something already, and then they would build based on their writing, talk about it, and then based on what they talked about and some of the details and ideas they came up with in their build, they would improve on their writing. And so our first step was organization, which was actually a pretty big deal. It really gave the students a chance to take ownership in these kits. And as you can see in the first part, they were, basically it was a box of blocks, and then they worked together in groups to arrange the categories and to organize each of the kits. And you can see some pictures on the bottom of them working together. I was amazed at how quickly and how easily they were able to do this. I thought for sure we'd have to do a lot of training on collaboration, but the kids just jumped right in and were able to cooperate and really put these together. And then the next part would be the build, and you see the picture on the top of hands off the Legos. This was our most important rule that we worked on, and the kids did a great job with this. So they really gave them a chance to be engaged, but then be able to break away for a little bit to be able to listen to directions. So that was one of our key things that we worked on. Problem solving was a big thing that we had to do with these builds because we were limited in bricks. So kids learned they would take Scotch tape so they could change the emotions of the characters as they went with their writing. We would add some paper pieces to some of their different builds if there were things they couldn't create with Legos. And you would be amazed at some of the creativity these kids were able to come up with. You'll see some more pictures, but I've got loads and loads of pictures that have some different ways the kids were able to use these Legos to build some amazing things. And then finally, we worked a lot on starting with the build, really looking at it, and then being able to go back and fill in the fine details using their bricks. And then the next piece we would do is we would do some individual conferencing. The kids would do museum walks, and I don't have any pictures from this presentation, but we've also started to do more large group classroom presentations about the different things that they've built. And then they would do some writing. So you can see some writing up there about working on the setting. We did some different writing in their notebooks, their writer's notebooks, so they would have their build in their notebook, they'd paste it in and they'd write about it. And then we have some sequencing pictures there too.
And here are some real specific projects that we did. So some of the students worked, I would say all the fourth grade students worked on coming up with seed ideas and then expanding on them. We worked on writing about character development, and we used some of the programs that we're using at Kegonsa with zones of regulation and Superflex. And you can see some pictures of the things they created with that. And that adorable redhead is my daughter. And she's demonstrating a project they did for their fiction fair. This is the fourth grade classroom. And they worked on setting primarily. So they wrote about the setting in the beginning, middle, and end of their stories that they were presenting at their fiction fair. And then on the bottom, this will be something we'll be doing actually probably in about a month, where they're working on their man-made features. This is one that we did last year. Where they're going to build the most important parts of their man-made features, and then there's some software that goes along with the program, and they can merge it into the actual photos of the features. And that's all I have. I could talk your ear off about it. I'm sure any of us could about all the exciting things, but I only have a couple minutes. So thank you.
Questions, anyone?
It's a great dynamic way in order to do like the old dioramas that I'm sure most of us had to suffer through.
Yes. And I do want to add one thing that just kind of related to what we learned about in the kindergarten classrooms is we've really started to let the kids do some playing with it also. I mean, it is play as they build, and in fact, that's a way a lot of the students do play, is they'll like put it together, and that's the playing that they've done. But I know Tina Stokes did this with me as well, but one of the things at first I was like, okay, now we're not going to play with the Legos. We didn't say that to them, but wanting to keep everything neat and tidy, but really seeing the amazing things and the amazing stories these students came up with when they were able to actually play and then take some of those ideas and put it into writing. So.
Has Minecraft factored a lot into
That might be a whole other thing that we could tap into. I don't know. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Fonda Lewis, and I teach second grade at Sand Hill. And my innovation grant was all about using yoga in the classroom. And the reason why I wanted to do this was yoga has really benefited me in my life with stress, not only personally, but also with my professional life. Going to yoga a couple times a week has really helped center me, balance me, and be able to be a better person for my kids at home. My kid at home and my students. There's a quote I started here with, and when I read this, I actually heard a yoga teacher say it in one of my classes, and I'm like, this is why I want to do this grant. So yoga is not a workout, it is a work in to make us teachable, to open up our hearts and focus our awareness so that we can know what we already know and be who we already are. So I really wanted, when I wrote the grant, I really wanted to put that through, that I wasn't necessarily looking at it through the physical education lens. I was really looking into it through the mind-body awareness lens. So why yoga in the classroom? There's so much out there. These are some of the things I found. Yoga in the classroom has a positive impact on students' academic performance. It can create a calm classroom, helps build a trauma-sensitive classroom, and we know with the different populations and the different students we have in our classrooms, yoga has been found to be really a positive way to make everyone successful. It can decrease anger, depression, and fatigue in both kids and adults. So this is also not just good for the kids, it's good for the teachers. And it gives students healthy ways to express their emotions, balance their feelings, balance, their body regulation, and just find ways to be who they truly are. So I attended a training through the organization called Breathe for Change. And their mission is to empower educators to enhance well-being in their lives, classrooms, and school communities. So I did a 200-hour wellness and yoga teacher training. And through that training, there was a big section on the yoga, but then there was also a big section on the social emotional learning pieces to do within the classroom. And I did that every other weekend, September through December. And it was awesome. The person who started Breathe for Change is a former teacher, and she did her PhD work at UW-Madison, and she saw lots of teachers going into the profession becoming burnt out, and she wanted that to stop. She wanted to help teachers be more well so they could be well for their students. So 3 main things. The first thing I've been really working with my students on is breath awareness. And through your breath, you can not only calm yourself, but you can also energize yourself. So this isn't something we're doing for like 20 minutes in the classroom. This would be something we teach, and then we do it maybe 2 minutes before we do our mini lesson on the carpet, or 2 minutes before we take a test, something like that. So the boy on the left, he is doing a breathing technique to calm yourself, where you're inhaling and exhaling. And a lot of kids are now using that on their own once we've practiced. And then on the right, I believe they're doing some type of breath. It's almost like a laughing breath. You inhale, 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 and it almost makes you feel like you're laughing. So it's like a really big energizer. The next one is, of course, movement, if you think about yoga. And we, again, found ways, how can we move our body to calm ourselves? How can we move our bodies to be better ready to learn? How can we move our bodies to energize ourselves? And the really cool thing about the movement is I've been teaching some things, but then now the students are leaders, and they come up and they try to teach. They make up stuff, you know. This time we're going to jump 5 times, next time, and they do the calls. And so the leadership is really cool, and having them find their own voice and what makes them feel good, ready to learn, is amazing. And finally, this is so simple, but it has changed my classroom. Gratitude. So gratitude has been proven to change your life. Every day you must train your brain, though. You can't just be on Thanksgiving wondering what you're thankful for, right? So every Friday we do a big gratitude in the morning, and it's amazing. So the kids, we do a song. A gentleman I met through the training, he does a lot of rap music. He writes about mindfulness, gratitude, and so we do a song called Gratitude is My Attitude. The kids love that. That's what they're dancing to on the left. And then we sit in a big circle and everyone shares what they're thankful for. Family, friends, and it's amazing. And I've noticed too that it's not like, I feel like when I used to do this like once, you know, every few moons, people would be like, I'm grateful for my DS, or I'm grateful for my Xbox. And it's amazing, like they're really not, like they're really thankful for their teachers and their school. And so anyway, gratitude has been a great uplift, I feel like, and having kids focus on the positive, what we do have versus what we don't. And for me too. So for sustainability, of course, in my classroom, I'm gonna keep going through the motions, trying new things, sharing with my colleagues. So one of the things I think we've been learning about is how we can help our students become more trauma sensitive, for students who've been through trauma or have some mental health stuff. And one of the biggest pieces of that is actually making sure that teachers and staff members are well. Because if we aren't well, we're not going to be able to do the best job we can for the kids. And we want to do the best job we can for the kids because they're our main priority. So I'm really excited. I'm going to lead yoga for 4 different times for staff. And I have several staff. I think there's like 20, 25 members signed up for every yoga session. So I'm hoping to do that so they can do it for themselves, but also maybe they'll take some things that they can use in their classroom. And most importantly, I'm hoping that the students can take the things that we've been doing and carry it with them throughout their lives. That's my hope. This was more for the staff. So any questions for me, or?
It sounds a lot like mindfulness.
Yes.
I mean, the breathing and stuff. So, I mean, but this is now the yoga and mindfulness. And where were we? What other school were you at where they did a gratitude? They had a was it at Sandhill?
Kiganza had a gratitude.
Oh, Kiganza. Right. So it's really great to see that
it's going all over.
It's going around. Yeah.
Awesome.
How do you get the kids that are a little hesitant into doing this sort of thing at all? How do you kind of coax them into?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. So in the beginning of the year, some kids aren't comfortable moving, and that's okay. So we talk about how people have different feelings about how they want their body to move. People have different feelings about how they are in a group, and if the kids want to sit. I've noticed that usually the kids who start sitting, then now they're participating. But some kids, it takes a long time, and some kids are not comfortable. I did have one student, I have a calming area in my classroom, and many times when we, especially if we do like an energizer, like if I'm feeling like most of the kids need energy, that person doesn't feel comfortable, they go to the calming area. But I think I usually compliment that person on taking what they need for themselves. That's a great question, though. Yeah.
Do you find that the kids do this at home? Do they tell you about it? Or
Yes.
Do the parents tell you?
Yes. So the breathing for sure. And then they'll say, oh, I went to my bedroom and I was so mad and I just laid on my bed and I thought about the rainbow, and there's like a little visual thing we've done. And then the other cool thing was after holiday break, not spring break, but over the winter, a student came back and was like, I got a yoga DVD for Christmas. So I was like, oh my God, that's awesome. And this is a boy who is so energetic and loves to move. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's perfect for him at home. So, yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Oh, you want me to click through this?
I'm not a speaker in public, really. I wrote the grant for the Keeganza New Family Dinners. And in the past, it's not up here, but in the last 3 to 4 years, Keeganza School has seen a change in our students and their family demographics. And many of these families are from other Wisconsin communities or other states. And families are no longer the typical mother-father family. Some of our families are homeless, family members are incarcerated. At this time when I wrote it, it was 33.6% were low income in our building, and which have led to an increase in the free and reduced lunch approvals and an increase in poor student behavior and struggling learners. So the goals were to welcome new families to Keeganza and have them come into our building, feel comfortable. A lot of families don't feel comfortable doing that when they're in these situations. And so this was to invite them into the school, to meet our staff, get them to be able to volunteer, feel comfortable communicating with everyone, and get to know our staff without having to be the day of school. They could just do it on a normal evening and have dinner. And then for some, we had leftover food. It was all made by Taher, did the food. Michelle Madden's crew did it, and her staff from Taher, and leftovers were sent home with the families. And Mr. Hipke's Lead for Life students were also a big part of the fun and the help. They came up and helped and were with the kids, and that was great that they were there. Our first dinner was March 2nd, last March, and then we had one in the fall, beginning this fall. And we had 90 families in the fall that came. The Lead for Life students helped as well. And the dinner again was made by Michelle. The other thing that we did with part of the grant, I shared with Lisa, and she had her program, the Keeganza Kids Club After School Program. So we did pizza and cookies, which Taher could make pizzas that you could take home and bake or freeze if you didn't want them. And then we had cookies for the families. And then we're going to have ice cream sundae social for the kids to welcome spring. So that's pretty much it. Thank you. I really appreciated having the money to be able to do that. It's a lot of fun. Nice to see families in there that have never done that. Do we have pictures on there still? They weren't there? Okay. Oh, just those. Okay. All right. Any questions?
Such a great idea. Yeah, that's a great idea.
Good. Okay.
Thank you.
Awesome. It was fun. They liked it, and it did make a lot of our families that weren't used to coming in all the time I think they did come in more and felt more comfortable being able to call at least,
Mhm.
come in and talk and help get them in there a little more.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Lisa Gucci. I'm a second grade teacher at Kegonsa.
Tina Stokes, fourth grade.
And we're missing one of our trio, Kylie Peterson. She helps us with the Kegonsa Kids After School program. When I wrote this grant, it was originally designed to provide a safe place for students to receive the academic, social, emotional support that so many of our families need. And we decided to do the program on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So the three of us volunteer our time from 3 to 4:30 every Tuesday and Thursday. And we asked for teachers to give us recommendations of kids that might need that extra support. And we've been pretty fluid throughout the year. We've even had new kids come into Kegonsa and, oh, come join our after school club. And we've got a waiting list that's pretty long, but with only three of us, we can't always meet all the needs. So we just took the teacher requests. And what we do is they come in, of course, they're starving after school. So we use some of the grant money for a healthy snack. So they eat a snack, and then we take them outside for some supervised physical activity, teaching them even rules of games. Some of these kids just need some help learning how to win, how to lose, how to play together. We provide academic support after the playtime. Could be homework, could be types of classroom activities that they might not have computers and technology at home, so we provide that support with them at the after-school program. We do a lot of Richmond activities as well, play some games, do some crafts, and then we just support these families all through the year with our family dinners and our different activities. And we're really lucky because we have a lot of community volunteers. Yoli helps us sometimes. We have some middle school and high school volunteers also, and some community volunteers that come in and help us tutor the kids and just give them another ear, to listen to. And when we don't have it, they're really upset.
They let us know.
They let us know.
Lisa was talking about the enrichment activities. I laughed because it made me think of, we had done this community project for Scotland, and we had glitter. And that was an experience. I'm sure our custodians were very happy with us when they came into the room afterwards. But like Lisa said, we serve about 28 students in grades 2 through 5 who come to us every night. And what's been super lovely is the kids you see in the hallway, and they're like, see you tonight at after school, yep. So they're making that connection with the other kids and with us, which has been really great. One of the things that that was a little bit of a kicker at first was the kids' families had to provide transportation on their own, but it's worked out beautifully. People are carpooling, they're working together. It's been great. It's worked out very seamlessly. It's been really great for some of our fifth graders to have that mentor role. They're taking the kids under their wings. Come read with me. Let's find another book. So they have really been able to take on some leadership roles in addition to helping their kids academically and have a safe place to go and getting the food. They've really grown themselves, which has been really heartwarming for us to see as well. And so then the community project we had done, and we had taken it to Scotland, and it was really great. We took a little walking field trip over there, and the kids had to go to the desk, and the kids said, we're here, and they were all nervous, figuring out who was going to tell them we're here, and what are we for, and what do we got. They did amazing. They did amazing. We were very proud to give those gifts to them. Are we going to see them? Can we hand them to them personally? So they did a really nice job. And then we did ask them on a fancy little recap here what they think of it, and obviously it's better to hear it from them. Becky, would you mind? Thank you.
I like after school because we could do fun crafts.
What I like about after school program is that they have great snacks.
I like after school because we get to be on campus. with them more and you get it done. But sometimes you might not finish every part of your homework and not get things out, but that's okay because you work hard. I like to eat and play outside and play a bunch of stuff. Help with math.
That's it. Thank you. That's it for us.
Questions, anyone?
Is this something that you think you can continue to do, or are we getting funding to sustain it? Any ideas?
We don't know that. I think to sustain it, we would need some extra help too, because it's been quite a chore for us to keep it going, just the three of us, twice a week, and amongst all the meetings that we have and everything.
Right.
So we'd need to have more of a team that would help with it, but it's been really valuable. I mean, I would hope that we could continue it in some way, shape, or form.
And if we could get more people, obviously we could extend it to more families, because it has been so beneficial. If there was another way to add more kids to that, would be great, because they've really come a long way.
You haven't had to turn any kids down, have you?
You have a waiting list.
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed
We have a
that.
list of kids that they'll knock on my, Miss Gucci, can I come to that after-school thing you got going? And I'll put you on the list,
How many do you have on your waiting
right
list?
now. We probably have about 10,
Okay.
yeah.
No, it sounds wonderful.
It is great.
Oh.
I have to commend you guys for, well, first, you're so compassionate, but at the same time, you have a structure there. And I've noticed from the first time you guys started to now how the behavior of the kids that go there has changed. Really, you should see it. I go there and they're all quiet and working on their stuff, after being outside and coming back in. So, and it is a lot of work, especially you're working the whole day with your own students and then staying for 3 more hours to do that is a lot. So really kudos to you. I don't know how you do it, but I really appreciate your hard work on that.
Yeah, thank you.
It's worth it. It's all about the kids.
Well, we have noticed kids that, they have academic support, at first, and then we have given them some other free time. They've actually chosen not to take that and take more academic support and project support and take our support, and the other kids take advantage of all of that. I mean, when you're 8 and 9 and 10 and you're doing that on your own already, that's pretty powerful. But we were talking about that too, and seeing that progress with them. It's been nice.
Yeah, day one, it was a little scary, wasn't it? Yeah, it was a little scary. We're like, what have we signed up for? Yeah, it's good now.
Yeah.
So, thank you.
Did you have one more?
Well, I was just, there's a benefit to you, because you're teachers that they see every day in school, but, do you think it could be as successful if it was other people that just came in for that period? Would they?
I think that would be helpful, but I think it's really nice during the day to have that connection. I've got kids that come up to me in the lunchroom and go, oh, this happened to me today, Mrs. Gucci, or do you have a second to talk to me? I think it's really important to have some staff involved in it as well.
A home base.
Yeah, but yeah, definitely we could use.
Well, especially if you're doing homework help.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
would.
And it's been nice to have a range of a K2, 3, 5s, where I'm like, oh.
Yeah, 5th grade math is all her. I stick with you.
So to have that range of us being able to get our fingers on all of that has been helpful as well. So to have that representation has been nice.
Other questions from anybody?
A
Yoli?
quick comment. I have seen, like in other schools, they have the after school in the school, but it's managed by other staff that are not there during the day. And then the teachers that are in the school help out, so they still get to be around the kids, but it's not on a regular basis. So that, I think that also helps.
We used to have that, right? We had a company of kids or something that came in
it was a
and did
separate
that.
company,
Yeah.
After School Inc.
Wisconsin Youth or something.
Or Wisconsin Youth, yeah.
Right.
Great
Okay.
idea. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next up is Mr. Dow with the activities report.
Good evening once again, everybody. Thanks for the opportunity to come and present to you tonight. Our students are finding ways to engage themselves with the school outside of the school day. Interest continues to grow, and this is evident with the amount of clubs being proposed and the informational and regular meetings that are taking place. Our kids are creative and have a great vision for what their interests are. Oftentimes, the question comes up of why an emphasis on extracurricular activities. To help answer this question, I found a short little video here as part of my presentation that I'd like to show you to help explain the reason why. You just click on the whole. You know, just make that a big screen.
Aware of the benefits provided by extracurricular activities, especially in high school. These activities can include, but are not limited to, clubs, professional organizations, and athletics. Students cannot learn all they need to know to perform well in society within the classroom. Though teachers can expand the student's knowledge, the student still needs the ability to apply that information in settings outside of the confines of the classroom. The information needs to be applied to real-world settings. The same information also needs to be shared and critically thought about. A way students can do this is through association with extracurricular activities, whether the student is on the stage, a football field, or in front of the classroom. Research has consistently proven that extracurricular activities can benefit students greatly. Steve Duncan focuses on specific benefits from extracurricular activities such as increasing leadership abilities, completion of tasks, life skills, and a higher likelihood of graduation. He writes that such involvement in extracurricular activities can help young people discover and share their talents, as well as develop character and competencies. Other research states that extracurricular activities benefit student behavior, increase student grades, and school completion, and make students more likely to become successful adults. With athletics, students learn discipline in drills, practices, and routines. In clubs and other organizations, students learn lessons in leadership, teamwork, organization, analytical thinking, problem solving, time management, and the ability for students to juggle many tasks at once. In addition, it also allows students to discover their talents and interests. After conducting a survey, which included questions ranging from the benefits of extracurricular activities and how many extracurricular activities were offered at the interviewee's high school, I realized there isn't uniformity within public schools on what is offered. Coming from a smaller high school myself and making friends in college who attended much larger high school, I realized their schools offer a wider array of clubs, organizations, and sports. This is the problem. The following graph displays survey results that the most common answer to the question was 0 to 10, which comprised 66.67% of the answers. 16.67% said 10 to 20, while another 16.67% said 20 or more. Though some schools offer more extracurricular activities than others, the most common within American public high schools includes yearbook, baseball, National Honor Society, science club, football, theater club, art club, soccer, student government and debate, school newspaper, and chess club. 100% of respondents claimed that extracurricular activities are beneficial and that they positively impact students. The most common answers to this question centered on the social benefits, in which students can gain more friends and meet people they wouldn't have met if they were not involved in a particular activity. Many people also stated that these activities give school pride and keep students motivated throughout high school. Here are a few of the unique answers to this question, which coincide with much of the research done centering on the benefits. The next graph displays answers to the question, how much time do you think you should devote weekly to extracurricular activities? The answers were surprising as 25% said 6 hours or more, 66.67% said 3 to 6 hours, and only 8.33% said 0 to 3 hours. The information presented opens another question. How important are after-school activities? Since some said they think students should spend 6 or more hours on extracurricular activities weekly, they will inevitably spend multiple afternoons a week focusing on these activities. Instead of napping or playing video games or spending a lot of time on social media after getting home from school, students should try to take the time to engage in productive activities, in addition to finishing homework. Though there are some restrictions varying from family to family, such as access to vehicles, etc., the research also shows that after school is an opportune time for students to be involved. One major reason is that the most dangerous time for bad behavior is after school before parents get home, especially between the hours of 3 p.m. and 7 p.m. This is a crucial time for students to be involved involved because they are under supervision, guidance, and they are engaged in rich learning experiences. This announcement is directed towards teachers, parents, and students. Teachers, take up a leadership position within your school. Create clubs coinciding with your interests that may attract students. Help students find their niche and help them to cultivate their interests. Parents, encourage your children to get involved in any way, whether it's in school or after school activities or volunteering in the community. And students, remember to get out of your comfort zone and get involved as much as you can without hindering your academic performance. Research from 2010 stated that only 1 in 4 students participate in academic clubs. This number is too low. Remember that colleges will be looking at your application for experience in extracurricular activities. Don't spend all your free time on video games or on the internet unless you use that time to research the class. Most importantly of all, enjoy yourself and good luck.
I felt that video when I found that best summarized the intent of having extracurricular activities for our students. Quick, short, but to the point. As we are rolling back into the PowerPoint itself, thank you, Becky. A couple things I wanted to point out. The national average of extracurricular activities, that's athletics, music, debate, speech, so forth, account for less than 3% of a school district's budget, but impact over 50% of the students within the school. At Stoughton, our extracurricular activities are less than 1.5% of our overall district budget, as well as 65% of our students are rostered and are active. And I want to thank Erica's office for helping us pull up that data with the amount of the district budget that we use. Bottom line, this is a great investment for any district, especially for here at Stoughton, where we strive to engage all of our students. At Stoughton, our current offerings is that we have 30 plus offerings where we have 36 plus different advisors. Comparing our offerings to what was in the video clip, like I said, we have the 30 plus offerings compared to the average was below 20, with several additionals that are in conjunction with each other or class-like offerings, music and such. What do we do to attract our students? Well, here's a quick example of something that's new this year. We had each of our advisors produce a flyer that is housed right outside the guidance office. So when our counselors are talking to students and looking for something for them to engage in, they can point out the different offerings that we have here. Kids are encouraged to be part of the process of developing clubs and organizing clubs. We continue to share information at our freshman orientation, which is coming up on May 25th, and our activity fair. We are in the planning phase of this as we speak. And as I said, our advisors help produce these flyers to help share that information as well. But one of the things that I want to point out here is of those activities that we spoke of before where we have 30 plus offerings, we still know that we're not reaching all of our students on a rostered activity. But here are a few things that I want to point out where we engage all of our students. Top left picture is this fall's PEP assembly, where if you've not been to a PEP assembly at Stoughton High School in the recent years, you're missing out on something. I would say that probably in excess of 70% of the students that are there are wearing school colors. And that's significant that they feel that they're engaged and that they're part of it. Our school dances, for 3 years now, we've had close to 600, and this year I believe that we had 640 students attending our homecoming dance, which is represented here as well. Cocoa and Cram in the bottom left, where we invite every student in the school to come in after school to work on academics and prepare for their finals. And the bottom right is just being part of the student section, where more and more students. Not every student has the flexibility in their schedule to be involved in an extracurricular activity. But we've created an environment where students are welcomed to be part of the environment where and when they can. So I just wanted to share that with you as a few. Another one that I wanted to share with you here is our Life of a Viking event. This started as part of a group of student athletes that wanted to promote safe environments. And with the help of the Wellness Coalition, Life of a Viking has now opened up their activity nights for all students. And what these are nights where we have activities, there's food provided. I want to thank Susan Zamish, who helps organize and prepare these. But our students can come in and have a social night where They don't have to worry about drugs, alcohol, people making bad choices. Our attendance at these have been great. We've had anything from pool parties to table tennis tournaments, volleyball. Recently we were at Mant Center. Mant Center opened up and allowed them to skate. Food is provided, soda and so forth. And again, just an environment where they can learn that, you know what, you can be social without being in a bad situation. And then the next slide I wanted to share with you is leadership opportunities. We try to provide leadership opportunities for non-athletic groups as well. This one right here was actually called Fast Forward, as you can see in the picture, where the WASC had a leadership training up at the Orpheum Theater, and we invited all of our extracurricular activities to attend. Unfortunately, on this particular day, only Student Senate and 2 others were able to attend. But what we saw was 7 nationally known motivational speakers towards teenagers were there. And the reason why it was called Fast Forward, it was like a mini TED conference where they came in and they spoke on a subject, and they had about a 15-minute time window to give the kids a special message. And the students that went truly enjoyed it, and we're looking to try to find more leadership training opportunities for all different activities. Again, open up to all, but based upon schedules and other things that were going on, only 3 activity groups were able to attend. We talked about bringing in additional activities, and with me, I have a couple students that are coming in from the badminton club, but recent proposals have been our mock trial group, our gender issues, and badminton. So with me here, a couple students that are going to talk to you real quick about their experience about starting a club while at the high school. There's the remote, you guys.
Hi, my name is Caroline Mansell, and I'm with Mitch Osterhaus, and we are the founders of the all-new Stoughton High School Badminton Club. Although it's not a school-recognized sport yet, it involves a lot of athleticism, and we have a lot of kids coming, around upwards of 20 to 25 students each time we meet. And the club is bi-weekly, and it features kids who just wanted to do something fun after school, get some physical activity, and if they wanted to be competitive, they can go right ahead and have a really bloodbath game of badminton. Or if they just want to get together and hit a birdie, then it's available to them too.
So the idea to start this badminton club was generated by Caroline in the early stages of it. She enlisted my help to try and get the vision off the ground. And in order to create a club at Stoughton High School and have it be recognized as a club per se, we have to get a staff member. What we did was we sent a mass email to all the staff members at the high school, and we elicited a response from Karen Seaton. She's not able to be here tonight, but she's been very instrumental in what we've tried to do this year. So once we formed a leadership group per se, we went to Mr. Dow, and he began to walk us through the process of becoming a legit true blue club. So we talked with Mr. Dow and began promoting the club. So Mr. Dow and Mr. Empey were both very instrumental in getting gym space as well as the equipment needed to play badminton. We purchased and kind of scrounged together our own rackets, but they provided nets and the standards that students will play with. Additionally, in order to promote the club, we hung posters around the school, and we use a text notification system called Remind, which the basic gist of that is that students are able to sign up for the Remind, and then they'll get text notifications whenever we're meeting or whenever anything else.
You guys should all sign up now. Go to the next one.
Totally. So there's just an example of our poster that we popped on bulletin boards around the high school. So what do we actually do? Every other Friday, we gather in a room in the high school and then walk the arduous 1-block journey to the Air School gym. Once there, everyone works as a team to set up the nets and standards. We kind of just gauge the feel of the gym and play until about 4:15 or 4:30 or whenever people want to.
Sometimes longer.
Yeah, totally.
5.
So participants will play on teams of 1 or 2 against each other, and Caroline and I try and facilitate different matchups with each other so that students can meet each other and have a good time with a numerous amount of people.
And the students that come, there's many different kinds. There's a lot of more like introverted kids that come with their friends or siblings that we know, and then more athletic people that just want to tone it down and do something that takes less skill level. And so we've gotten a really good turnout of different types of students, which is I think, a really good thing because it shows that no matter who you are, you can still join an extracurricular and it can be beneficial.
Indeed, that was really an instrumental part of our vision, if you will, was to have a place where students of all types can land and have a good time in one big old group. So here are just a couple pictures. On the left is Luke Soderblom. He's a freshman and he is one of our biggest attendees. He's been to every one, I think.
Every single one.
Indeed. And then on the right are Jack Purvis and Dutch Holland. Both are seniors and they're whacking away at the birdie there. Thanks for listening. One more thing, we've been getting some publicity around the school. The North Star, I'm sure you guys know about the school newspaper. I flagged off an article that Kira Fields, one of our staff writers, did about badminton clubs. So if you'll turn to that little tab, I have it marked there. Any questions? Yeah.
Thanks,
You betcha.
Is the first rule of badminton club that no one talks about badminton club?
Exactly.
Sweet. Any other questions just regarding logistics?
How many students about you guys are, or people going?
Yeah, totally.
On
So
average?
per meeting, as you can see in the picture, we have maybe 20 or 25.
That was one of our largest meetings, I would
Yeah.
believe. But we usually have 3 to 4 nets. Sometimes we don't have enough nets actually for the amount of kids that show up. And so we have some people like go to the side and play without a net, or, you know, they only stay for a little bit amount of time so that everyone can kind of get a chance for that.
We make it work. Anything else?
What do you think has been your best kind of media outlet in order to get your word out? Has it been, I see you've done posters, the North Star, and social media. Which ones do you think were?
I would say probably verbal communication, just telling your friends and telling everyone in the class, hey, come to badminton club, it's today after school. And that usually kind of gets a lot of people to come, or you just take them from the hallway and say, oh, do you have anything going on after school? Like, that's how I got a significant amount of people actually to come, as well as the Remind has been very beneficial as well.
Definitely. We've both found that kind of a gung-ho attitude towards it will definitely generate excitement and get people to turn out. Sweet. Anything else? Yes.
Is badminton an Olympic sport?
Yes,
Yes, it
indeed
is.
it
So
is.
we'll see you there. And
Oh, absolutely.
Yes. Stoughton might become the new training ground for the Olympians of tomorrow. That's what we're hoping.
Yeah, you have to get safety glasses for that because they're just whipping them back and forth, and you know we do stuff like that too. Absolutely.
Totally.
All right, thank you.
Thank you
very
guys for
much.
listening. Thanks for the opportunity.
And I just brought them in to show you what we do to provide as many opportunities as kids can be creative with. You know, the door's wide open for activities and try to find a diverse group of different things that for our kids to be engaged. So we meet some of those things that were talked about in that video. As you can see, these kids are extremely dynamic and did a great job spearheading this and moving forward. I think that they would agree probably the biggest challenge has been finding facilities and space. That's why they landed on Friday afternoons every other week, just because of all of our other activities that are going on with gym space and finding time and so forth. You know, Mr. Empey did a great job of helping them locate physical education equipment, you know, being able to share the services, and Ms. Seaton did a great job as well. That's just one of the many different groups and activities that have been added in Stoughton in my time that's been here. But, you know, there's new proposals coming all the time. There's one that Ms. Pickett and I have to talk about yet this week, so be ready. So anyway, any questions for me on activities? Yeah.
I missed the number, you said what our budget was.
Yeah, we're just under 1.5% of the district's budget goes into our athletics and activities. That was just recently pulled by our business office for us.
Other questions? Thank you.
I review a lot of scholarship applications, and oftentimes the activities and involvement in activities are what sets students apart. And I feel really fortunate that we have a lot of these activities for our students to take part in, because that serves them well into the future. So thank you for your role in that. One question I have about that is, for the students who don't participate, do we have a handle on sort of if it's any particular groups of students who tend not to participate that we could do outreach to, or?
You know, when we poll students occasionally, we'll ask them. This year, we actually constructed a list of all the students that were not enrolled in an activity in last school year, and we shared it amongst the advisors. Take a look, engage in some conversations with these kids. And what we're finding out, employment, socially, they need to go home and take responsibilities at home, you know, things like that were the main reasons why that they weren't being involved in activities. That's why I put that portion in there that, okay, I may not be on a roster of an activity, but I'm also part of the school culture, the school climate, because you know what, that doesn't eat up my time where I'm needed elsewhere. So, you know, we have to remember that. That's an important part of it too. And we keep trying to create that culture that invites everybody in. When I share with others in my profession what we have in attendance for our homecoming dance, they're amazed. I mean, you can ask Mike, you know, what it's like to get over 600 of your student population at a homecoming dance. It's pretty incredible.
I just want to follow up to that because I think Bev could probably speak a little bit to that as having some kids out of school for a while now. We've really, it's a huge difference at the high school. Even from the time that my oldest started, but going back even before that, I mean, the student section, it'd be a very small number. I can remember that was some of the biggest things we'd hear from students was spirit and, you know, I mean, it's a big, huge difference. And I think it's really hard for people who, you know, have younger kids or have been out for a really long time to really see the difference. There's some of us that are, you know, kind of right in the gap that it's really been great to see. And not only that, but I mean, just our facilities in general. I mean, our high school has never looked better. I mean, it is so awesome. I mean, to walk through and you see these great, you know, just we've done so many things. The bathrooms don't smell anymore. I mean, I'm serious. There was literally the same lockers as when I was a high school student, and they all have been replaced. We have a sign out front. I mean, it's just great. And I think that all of that together. I mean, then we won the Big Spirit Award. I mean, and these are all really great things that we should be proud of.
It's a vision that is planted here with the people that sit at this table, that is shared with Mike on down, that allows us to do that. I think we've changed Mike's vision on assemblies. I still remember him very clearly saying our assemblies will be outside because therefore the students can't face each other, because apparently there were some horror stories about when students used to face each other. And we now have the confidence in our student population that they can do that. They know how to appropriately behave and you know, show that school spirit. It's a great place to be. I mean, it truly, truly is. And you know, I think we see the forest through the trees when we see all of the little things that make a difference. And you know, our students are engaged. Yep, there are going to be some bad days, but you know what? It's only one bad day to the 10, 20, 30, 40 or more great days and the great things that are going on. Our mock trial team, you know, barely into a third year of what that existence of that program is and the results that they had. Where did that come from? That came from some students having some great ideas, pitching something and say, hey, let's try this. You know, I'm anxious to see what next comes on the horizon. When it comes from the students, it's got a little bit more strength. What you see here with the badminton club, with the kids in the mock trial. I can propose 50 different things, and it's just, but when the kids have the passion for it and they bring it forward, now you get to run with it. So, and I'm thankful for the support of Mike and everybody else that says, you know what, let's keep moving forward. So,
any other questions?
I would just also say that when I've gone to any of the events, our students represent themselves really, really well. And that's a testament to the expectations that are set. And I mean, they do a really good job. They behave well, they're respectful, and they just do a really good job representing our schools. Even when there's things that happen that, you know, like they could get riled up about, they just do a really good job. So
yeah, they do. They really do. And when there's an unfortunate situation, they can rationalize and they can correct it themselves. So yeah, it's been a great thing as well.
I've got a couple of questions then. I wonder, I know in years past, you've been able to give us numbers as to, you know, how many kids are involved in different non-athletic activities, and I wonder if you could get that information to us?
Sure,
Okay.
sure. Just so you know that all the rosters are not consistent like an athletic roster. Okay?
Right, no, I know that.
There's
I
ebb
mean,
and flow and
right,
such.
kids
like
can
that.
drop in and out of clubs, and that's
Yep.
fine, but I mean, there must be some snapshot at some point in the year where you
Absolutely.
can capture that, and I think we'd like to have that.
I believe Dr. Onsager has that as well.
Yeah.
We'll get that to you.
Thank you. The other thing was, and this goes to something that Nikki was asking about, I know from talking with families that at least for some kids, they don't participate in after-school activities of any kind because of transportation issues. And I don't know how many that is, if it's a dozen kids or 100 kids. And I think it would be well worthwhile to do a little bit harder survey like you were talking about with the counselors as to, because a lot of kids do have after-school obligations with family or work, and that's going to keep them out. But if it's something like transportation that we could maybe do something about, that would be worth knowing about. So if you could maybe get that information,
Okay.
I would like that.
Okay. I can do some research on that as well.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Is there any way to make like a survey to the students?
Well, I
if
think
they-
that's what kind of what you're talking about is if you did a more formal survey and find out why don't you, and have 5 choices, and that could probably pin it down.
Absolutely.
Other questions? Okay, thanks very much, Mel.
Thanks, everybody.
Okay, next up, Ms. Pickett's going to talk to us about banking.
Not nearly as exciting as badminton. At our last finance committee meeting, we talked about an RFP process that we did for the district's banking services, and there was a recommendation from that committee to make a change. We have been using Wells Fargo Bank for many, many years, and it's kind of been on our radar actually for a couple of years to maybe do an RFP just to see what services look like from other institutions. Part of the reason behind that was just that we have seen some of our fees creep up over the last few years. And when you're in an environment where interest rates have been really, really low for a long time, increasing fees is always a concern regardless. But we noticed really with the reduced interest income and the increased fees that our services were costing a little bit more. And we did have some questions that came in from some board members just asking about using Wells Fargo given some of the negative press that they had received. So it was just a good, that last push to be like, okay, we've kind of talked about it for a little bit and it's time. So we did do a proposal process, and we spent quite a bit of time looking through the information that we received back from 4 different institutions. We met with the 3 vendors that replied. We did not include Wells Fargo in a meeting because we were familiar with what they would provide, but we did meet with the other 3 responders and came up with a unanimous recommendation to make a change to McFarland State Bank. We talked about it with the Finance Committee, and they supported that recommendation. McFarland State Bank is actually willing to waive any fees that we would incur as a district, and the interest rate that they proposed, again, that will obviously change over time, but what they are proposing right now is actually the highest as well. So after meeting with them and feeling pretty confident that they could meet our needs and keep our money safe, we made that recommendation. When I say keep our money safe, one of my big concerns, obviously being responsible for our finances, was to ensure that if we had money in the bank in excess of $250,000, that would be insured, because the FDIC rate amount is $250,000, and they are able to collateralize money that we have in our accounts in excess of that amount. So that was good to learn and know. Just to make sure that we were making a recommendation that would keep our finances safe. So that's just a quick summary of the process we used and the recommendation that was made.
So this is only the first step of our 2-step process.
Yep.
You'll come back in 2 weeks for board action on that. Are there any questions about any of that? Joe?
So I tried to find this answer on my own and I couldn't, but we're not allowed to use a credit union, I assume, because we're.
We
school
actually
district.
sent our RFP to all the credit unions in town and none of them responded.
Okay.
And one of the things, I know this from my work, credit unions are not set up to deal really well with businesses. And in fact, back, when there was all the hoo-ha about M&I Bank and Governor Walker, we pulled all of our business accounts from M&I and we actually went to Summit Credit Union because they actually were able to, but it's like we are their test case. Like everything that can go wrong happens to us. Not wrong, but I mean, they just haven't had it happen yet. So they're just really not set up for the level of money that we be having going in and out, I don't think.
Right, and I know they're insured differently as well.
They
It's
are,
not
and-
FDIC with
and
credit unions.
I would have had the same thoughts that you just shared, Donna, but just because we didn't want to exclude anyone, we sent them the proposal thinking, well, maybe there's more to it than what we would understand, but we didn't have any response.
I would say, Summit's been great with us, but I think it is.
It is different.
Yeah, it is really different.
Well, I would think with payroll with over 400 employees, just that would be possibly problematic.
Just
ACH is pretty
Yeah.
easy when you just upload it and.
Yeah.
But even then, they've got some constraints there. You said there's no fees for 5 years, so I'm assuming then we would just revisit and look again after that period because then that window closes, or?
Absolutely, we could certainly do that. I will say, we have had an account at McFarland State Bank since I've been here, which has been over 15 years now. We have had our food service account there, and they've never charged us any fees on that account either, so. Like I said, we met with them, we had a list of questions, we wanted to make sure that, just being a little bit smaller, that they could meet all of our needs. We had a couple concerns around some timelines for payroll, like when we needed to get our information to them, and we were able to just talk to them and work out the thought process behind that, and feel like we'll be able to do what we need to do to make sure everybody's all set.
Joe?
And does McFarland deal with any other school districts? I mean, do they have experience in this?
McFarland. I actually called my counterpart over there, and he was I've known Jeff for a long time, and he was very candid and very honest with me and had a very positive reference for them.
Sounds pretty good.
Other questions? Okay, we'll revisit this then in a couple of weeks.
Should I stay put?
please.
Okay.
And stay there, because we're going to talk about rental fee increases.
Lunch fee.
Another,
Meal first.
Oh, did I miss that? Yes, I did. Thank you.
Another really super exciting topic here. So again, we talked about all of this at our last finance committee meeting too, and I'll just, do you want me to go through each one by one, or should I just kind of summarize?
How about you summarize?
Okay, great. Every year in March at our finance committee meeting, we do take a look at a variety of fees. We like to get that information discussed and then brought to the board if there's any potential changes. That way we have decisions made essentially by the end of April, so we know what we're gonna have in place for the following school year. Because once April and May rolls around, we're already prepping information to go out to families for our next school year. Included in that discussion is fees associated with our meal program, and we have a calculator that DPI actually provides us that's really helps us determine what our required increases need to be. Again, we're part of the National School Lunch Program, which is a federal program, and what we charge, if it's less than a certain amount, there's actually a process we have to go through to determine what the required increase for next year will be. At the point in time we talked at the finance committee meeting, that calculator hadn't actually been finalized. It was finalized last week, so we did verify that our calculation was accurate, and that would indicate that we need to increase our lunch fees by 10 cents for next year, and then that 10-cent increase would be even for all grade levels across the district. Breakfast is a little bit different in that you can assess that, each district can assess that. They would charge a cost basically to cover the cost of those meals. And given what we're currently charging and what our costs are, we don't feel that we need to make any changes for next year for breakfast. Moving along to the next one. My eyes aren't as good as they used to be. Facility fees, okay. Our facility rental fees, again, statutorily, we're allowed to charge a fee that recovers our costs. So we've used a formula for a number of years to analyze what we're charging, and then what our actual costs are, which include some utility costs, some custodial costs, those types of things. And in going through that calculation, we would have one fee that would change for next year, and that would be the high school cafetorium, which would increase $2 an hour. Is pool program next? Okay.
Swim lessons.
Swim lessons are the main revenue generator at the high school pool, and we haven't increased those fees for a couple of years. And what we did is we pulled some comparable data from other pools, and we kind of looked at what we're charging per lesson. And given that data, we felt comfortable increasing by 50 cents per lesson, starting with the 2017 summer swim lesson session. And consumable fees are what we charge every year at registration. We are actually suggesting that we eliminate the assignment notebook fee that we've had in place at River Bluff. We have assignment notebooks in, I think, all of our grade levels, and we made a change in the vendor that we're using, which helped us to reduce our cost of producing those assignment notebooks. So if we continue to provide a physical assignment notebook at River Bluff, we're going to be able to do so by just accommodating that within the district budget. I know Trish Gates she's a member of the finance committee, and she talked about how they are actually exploring maybe some electronic options to use instead of a traditional paper assignment notebook. So regardless of what direction they go, we didn't feel that it was necessary to continue charging that $6 fee at the middle school starting for next year. And I think that's all of them. Oh, well, that's not a fee. Do you want me to move?
Yeah, could you move into that, please?
Move into pool wages, okay. So we take a look at the other item we talk about in our March Finance Committee meeting is our pool employee wages. We, a number of years ago, ran into some hiring issues, so we started putting a process in place that on an annual basis, we would take a look at what we're paying our pool employees and then look at some comparables in the area to make sure that we were, paying them something that would allow us to ensure that we could hire enough people to work up there. That has served us well for a number of years. We ran into an interesting phenomenon over the last 12 months or so where we have a hard time staffing our pool in the summer because we learned that Troll Beach is actually paying about $2 an hour more than what we were paying. So what we are proposing is that there's a handout in there, that we increase our pool wages basically to get to a point where we're comparable with what our other in-town pool employer is paying people. And then that was primarily lifeguards, so then once we looked at that, we looked at the other various wages that we have to make some adjustments with those as well. We feel that when you look at our Fund 80, which is where we primarily, that's where we're paying for those wages, we can accommodate that within Fund 80 through our levy that happens outside of the revenue limit. And for those of you that have been on the board, you might recall that we actually significantly reduced our Fund 80 levy over the last couple of years because of changes made to the law around what may or may not be included as part of Fund 80. And so even with the increased wage cost, our levy in Fund 80 is still going to be significantly less than what it's been in the past.
All right, questions on that from anybody? Done.
A couple. One about the meals prices. Why does the price vary so much? I mean, I know we're talking like $1.50 to $1.05, $2, but I mean, it seems small. But what accounts for those differences across different districts?
Well, I will say that historically, before we had this new paid equity lunch calculator, different districts charge different amounts, and I think they based it on what their costs were. Over the last few years, since we've had this required increase, I think the variance between districts has been about the same because you had your starting point, and then you had to determine how much your increase was going to be every year.
And so if there's a zero, that means they're not providing it or they're paying for it. Reedsburg has 0 for their breakfast, K through 5.
You know what? I'm not sure about that. I don't know. I'm not gonna speculate. It might just be an error. It could be that they don't necessarily provide breakfast.
Yeah.
Or that it's possible they only provide it for kids that are on the free and reduced meal program, but I highly doubt that.
Okay.
If you want, I can check into that.
No, I mean, it was just curious to me because it's kind of stuck out.
And I do know that there is, I don't know if Reedsburg does it, but there is a program through the National School Lunch Program where if you hit a certain poverty threshold in an individual school building or even as a district, you can provide breakfast or lunch free to all students. But I mean, there's a little bit of a process. It's a program in place. That's a possibility too. I'm not sure if that's what they're doing. We don't have high enough poverty rates to qualify for that,
Okay.
but that's a possibility as well.
And I'm just, since we're on lunch fees and we're gonna be talking about the fee policy, I just thought it would, I would ask, I read today that Sun Prairie is grappling with their unpaid lunch tab, which is about $57,000 right
too.
now. What is ours?
I don't know off the top of my
But I
head.
mean, have we made some inroads? Like, I mean,
I will say, many, many years ago, it was in excess of $20,000 or $30,000, and we have made some significant improvements. I just don't know off the top of my head. And
But,
shouldn't even
I mean,
wanna
much
guess.
lower than
It's not 57,000,
Yeah.
that's for sure, yeah.
Okay.
And we talked about that a little bit at the policy committee meeting too, and, in addition to the concern around, we want our food service fund, our lunch and breakfast are handled through Fund 50. And ideally, you want that fund to be self-sustaining, because if it's not, then you basically have to use money from your general fund to support those costs. And in doing that, it's less dollars that you would have then for your other educational operation. So that is a concern, obviously. But in addition to that, when we had a lack of procedures in place to address people that weren't necessarily paying, what we learned is that we had no way of knowing, is it an issue of being unable to pay, just not paying, forgetting to pay? We just had no idea. So in some respect, by putting some procedures in place to ensure that the data we have on kids that are past due that aren't paying, we actually have a mechanism to reach out to families and find out if they really need some support. We had a point in time where we just had no idea because there were so many people that weren't paying. And we found that there were some that just weren't, and it wasn't an issue of inability. But once we kind of got some processes in place and got that cleaned up, now we really can tell if there's continual concerns around someone not having money to eat. What can we do to help support those families, and how can we reach out? And we have resources available to do that.
And I did have one other question about the swim lessons.
Yep.
Because I believe we talked about this the last time we were increasing, or looking at the fees. And that is just in line with, we have the ability for families to apply for free and reduced meals. We had talked about this option for families that cannot afford swimming lessons. And I think I shared with you, my son was a lifeguard at Troll Beach, and there's a significant number of kids who cannot swim that go there. And it's, back in the day, we used to teach swimming to everybody in the elementary level, but that those things have been cut. Have we done anything with trying to get to families and letting them know that there might be, I know we have we've been able to help people in the past, but is there anything we're doing to reach more families?
Like advertising that there's
Well, I mean, I think we talked about
scholarships,
something
or-
at central registration, like, some kind, something in the envelope, or in the folder that just said, if you cannot afford them, like, please let us know, that type of a thing.
I know we don't have anything in a folder at registration. I you know, I can't speak to the kinds of, I don't know that we're doing anything to promote it.
Mhm.
But I do know, like, anytime we have families express need or for something like that, we have our social workers, we have folks at the high school. I mean, I just don't, those requests don't necessarily come to me, so I can't
Mhm.
speak to how many they get or how they handle each individual situation. And I don't know that we're necessarily promoting it.
Yeah. It'd be nice if, I mean, I'm not saying that, you know, I don't know how to solve that problem, but, I mean, to me, this is a life skill. And, there's so many other things that we're teaching kids and are mandated to teach kids. It just seems like that is such an important thing that I wonder if there's just some ways we could think of, solving that problem. I don't know.
Yeah, I know they did it, I know when that was reduced when the 2005 referendum failed. I do know that, and yeah. Because it used to be part of what they did.
Well, and it's tricky because there's kids at a certain age that they don't have to test. They can test kids before they allow them to do certain activities, but after a certain age, they don't because they don't want. It's offensive to like ask, well, do you know how to swim? But they can still drown, and I mean it's just really, really hard. And it just seems like we're lucky. We do have this wonderful pool, and we have Troll Beach. I mean, these are two great places for kids to recreate. And I just wish there was
underutilized for sure.
Right.
That pool.
Right. So, I mean, I guess I'm just putting it out there again for somebody to.
Well, and I think what you're talking about is more than just a fee issue.
Yeah. So sorry to kind of get off that, but.
Okay. Any other questions on?
I'm curious about something that says here in the pool program fees. Swim lessons has the largest participation of any pool program in the district.
Yeah.
Do we have any other pool?
I'm sorry, what?
Do we have any other pool?
Another
in the
pool?
district?
It's just
No.
programs.
No, just meaning like there's
Exercise
water,
class.
exercise
Because it
classes,
looks
people
like,
can swim labs.
Because any pool program in the district just sounded to me, I'm sorry, that we were competing with other pools.
No, just Troll
it's
Beach.
just the word, yeah.
And we're still
And they're
offering
closed
a
in the
free
week.
pool pass to staff.
Yep.
Great.
Anything else?
I think we're only staff when we have to pay something, like a tax or something.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you. We'll come back to that in 2 weeks.
Thank you.
Just a quick thing, Scott,
Yeah.
about what Donna was saying. Probably we should think about it for the poverty task force to include, like,
If it's a poverty issue, I don't know that it is. It could be, but yeah, we can certainly talk about that. Okay, we have some policy issues to deal with, and I will let Donna walk us through those.
All right, 104 management team policy.
You gonna make a motion?
Sorry, this is the second time. I move that we approve revisions to 104 management team policy as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
From Bev, okay. Any discussion on that?
This was just adding the check writing.
Well, there was that, but then there was some other, just some cleanup of things. If you look at the red line, we had some things that we weren't doing anymore. 104.12, we just struck out. And then just sort of cleaned up some of the language.
Okay.
But it doesn't change really the intent of the policy.
Okay, good.
Other questions? All right, there's a motion and a second to accept the revisions to policy 104. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Right, that passes. Next up, policy 106.
I move that we approve policy 106, duties of officers as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Sarah. Questions? Seeing none. All in favor of approving revisions to policy 106, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And that carries. Policy 1020.
I move that, we approve policy 1020, school meal program as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Brett. Any discussion?
I have one item to note.
Okay.
We had to make a change to this policy from the last time. It is one line, at the end of the policy. This was, a suggestion by DPI. And that line, that sentence is, "This institution is an equal opportunity provider." So, policy is recommending that we, go ahead and approve this with that change, even though it wasn't presented last time, because it's just such a small thing.
Okay, given that new information, are there any questions? Right.
Oh, I have, do have a question that
Sure.
I didn't see here, probably, I don't know if I didn't read well, but, do we only send emails now? Or any paper note to those that don't provide emails or access to?
If we don't have an email on file,
Mhm.
we will send,
Okay,
we do that with all our correspondence.
because it doesn't say here, it just says, emails, no,
In the policy or the guidelines?
in the guideline.
Yeah, and we aren't, actually approving the guidelines, so, I don't know,
okay,
maybe
okay.
that needs to be modified, that it's, whatever is the form of communication.
But that can be done without any board action.
Correct.
Okay. So policy 1020 has been moved for approval. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Policy 1021, animals in school.
I move that we approve policy 1021, animals in school.
Is there a second? Second from Bev. Any discussion?
I may have one comment.
Okay.
I think that the title should just be animals in school. I don't think we use the word policy in all of our titles, so just strike that. But it's not changing the actual policy.
Okay. Given that information, is there any further discussion? All in favor of approving policy 1021 as presented, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That carries. And then finally, policy 1105, pest management.
I move that we approve policy 1105, pest management as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
I have one comment.
Sure.
We did have a community member ask a question regarding this policy, and that was how we were going to be communicating with parents that opted to have their child in the alternative indoor activities if we actually did apply something and school was still in session. And I asked him, and he said that that would be, the guidelines would be modified to say that the notification sent out to parents will also provide them the information they need to know to be able to request that. But it's not anything in the policy.
It's also in the guidelines, like you were saying.
It would be it's in the guidelines, and they've already made note of that, and it will be changed.
So there's a motion to approve policy 1105 as drafted. There is a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, please. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, the 72-hour period after application. Parents can, there can be alternate indoor activities as staffing allows for 72 hours. If there are parents that have concerns beyond that 72-hour period, we're not really gonna provide anything extra there, or they would be able to have like playground time, like on the pavement?
I think that, didn't we talk about this at the last
We
meeting?
did, I just wanna make sure I understand that.
I'm sorry, I accidentally pulled up the wrong.
There will be at every playground at the elementary, there will be, the blacktop and the actual where the rubber or the wood chips are, where it's sprayed. There is that area that we won't spray.
Okay.
So there is an area that even when we spray, we won't spray.
We won't spray, okay.
And we did change it says for at least 72 hours, and then I think we just calling it the 72-hour period. So, I mean, I think it's gonna be sort of open-ended depending. But keep in mind, we applied herbicide one time last year during the school year.
Right.
So that is hopefully we don't even know if that'll happen this year, but if it does, we have something in place.
Any other discussion? All in favor of approving 1105 as presented, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you. Board members, we now do have reason to move into closed session pursuant to section 19.85 sub 1C. I would entertain a motion to move into closed session.
So moved.
Moved by Donna, is there a second?
Second.
From Allison, and could you take the roll on that, please?
Yes. Ms. Reeser? Yes. Ms. Tarkinian?
Yes.
Mr. Fry?
Yes.
Ms. Wood?
Yes.
Mr. Schumacher?
Yes.
Ms. Rouse?
Yes.
Ms. Fergus?
Yes.
Mr. Pierce?
Yes.
And Scott, we will meet in the art room, which is right down the hall here.
Yeah, you might need to guide us. Okay, board members, let's take about a 7-minute break and reconvene in the art room at 9:30, please. Tim, I need a hand with something for a second here.
It's halftime.
Yeah, it's halftime. No, it's not gonna be halftime.
It is.
We're well through the fourth